Will this be a whole different ballgame since Taylor Sheridan isn't writing this time around?
We love Rainwater and Mo, but how much will we see them in this spinoff?
Red and Red Real Reviews fights crime in Montana with Marshals on CBS. I knew within the first 5 minutes I was going to hate it, but then it was so bad. Ugh.
Nobody wants this. Like
Literally nobody wants this.
Internet's gonna get mad at me for this one. There's no fat elf, you know.
Duty, which I can't say without laughing. Duty, like I'm English.
John Beans there are. I don't want to sound like a loser for saying this, but they're adorable. I'll admit it.
Welcome back to another episode of Red and Red Real Reviews. Today, we're checking out the debut of Marshals, which is the first Taylor Sheridan show and Yellowstone spinoff to not be on Paramount Plus. And this one is on CBS, on main network TV. So before we get started, let us know what you think of the podcast as a whole or a possible show we should have on our radar to cover by emailing us at redandredrealreviews@gmail.com and follow us on Instagram at Red and Red Real Reviews. That's the letter N, real spelled with two E's. Okay, so I guess let's get started talking about the elephant in the room. And we knew going into this, thanks to that trailer, that Monica Dutton is dead and gone. They're killing her off. We just don't really know from the trailer what exactly happened and exactly how long ago this was since Monica died. But it's very apparent in the trailer that that's what we're starting this season with. So to me, I thought of the fact that there was disappointment when Yellowstone first came out. I didn't know it at the time, but a couple years ago, I was reading about how when Yellowstone first came out, Kayce Asbill, she played Monica, and she wasn't actually a genuine Native American. I think she's of Asian descent, if I'm remembering correctly. So there was a lot of people very, very upset that she was playing a Native American in a show when she wasn't genuine Native American. And not only that, but I think she kind of was sidestepping the question when people asked her about it. So they were like, she's being shady about the fact that she's not real Native American. So I don't know if it was that just kind of came up in the back of my mind. I don't know if it was the fact that the showrunner asked Kayce if she wanted to be a part of this show, once Yellowstone ended, and she was just like, I'm not interested in playing that character going forward. I don't know what the catalyst for this was, but the showrunner, and we'll talk a little bit more about him, but he said, I found it online, that they needed to basically make this creative decision to shake things up in Kayce's life. But are you buying that explanation? I wasn't really.
As if Casey Dutton needs anything else to shake up his life. He seems to just exist in a tornado of chaos.
Right. And there's like a comment made in the first episode about tragedy or violence follows the Duttons or something like that.
Mo quote. I
Yeah.
actually wrote that down.
Yeah. So I mean, it just like it seems weird to me that that's what they're having the premise of the show be. And I was a little put off. Like I wasn't a huge fan of Monica. And she was okay. I mean, it wasn't like anything personal to me, but it seemed kind of like that they were doing this, they were killing off this character just to make this premise a thing. Did you feel that way a little bit?
Probably because Casey and Monica are like this.
Right.
So it felt like a little unnecessary. I hope it's not some, you know, cancel culture BS because, at that point, it's probably not even actual Native Americans that are pissed off. It's the usual mob of woke liberal white women that have to be pissed off on everyone else's behalf.
Likely. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very possible. I mean, I've seen some comments too that a lot of people actually think that the character of Monica was woke and they were annoyed by her. And some of like the
Uh,
little activism things she got into slightly. I don't know. I think that was the general sentiment. I mean, not saying everybody hated her because it wasn't unanimous. I mean, I honestly didn't couldn't care less about it, but it seems like an issue for a lot of people. I wonder if they just didn't want to take that into this new show. But also something I wanted to chat about before we get started about our things is that Taylor Sheridan is executive producer of this show. Just wanted to note that because he's not the writer, and he was a writer on Yellowstone. He's usually a writer on all of his shows. So for this show, though, Spencer Hudnett is taking the lead. He's the showrunner, creator, and he comes from the show SEAL Team. He was producer and writer of that. So it seems like this type of show, like very tactical, is his specialty. But I just found it interesting that there was distinctive messaging in that first episode with the credits that said, based on characters created by Taylor Sheridan. And then it said written by Spencer Hudnut. So I was like, okay, so we're getting a little bit of a different situation with this one. Not only is it on CBS, but it's executive produced by Taylor Sheridan. It's not written by him. So I'm just thinking that going into it, that there's going to be a little bit of a different flavor than all the other Sheridan shows we've watched. Like, what was your feeling going into it?
I didn't really forecast too much ahead of time on that, but
Mm,
with connecting the dots after the fact, it makes sense because, of course, Paramount and CBS are all under the same
right.
umbrella, and seeing how Kayce is getting involved with this pretty eclectic group of U.S.
Mm,
Marshals as the story progresses through the premiere, that's not veering too far outside the wheelhouse of the premise of SEAL Team.
mm-hmm,
David Boreanaz's character SEAL Team was a very eclectic group of operators. They all had very much
mm,
different, diverse, and personalities and that sort, or at least
yep.
like the main guys on the team.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of lends towards this new writer's background. Uh, and then the other side of it is being that this is delivered to the audience from a traditional linear standpoint, it also kind of makes sense that to have a core group where the story evolves around them as opposed to the story evolving and the characters having to play catch up to progress the story.
Yeah, yeah. And I see what you're saying because I did watch, we were almost going to cover SEAL Team at one point, but there's a lot of seasons to catch up on. And I think that show did end. So that must be
Hmm.
why this Spencer Hudnut character is freed up since it ended. But yeah, I mean, I did see a few episodes, maybe a handful of episodes, just to get a flavor of what the show is like and the vibe of SEAL Team. And I did find it pretty similar to what this seems to be, at least when it's starting off. So yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to anything that's similar to SEAL Team or anything like that. It's just I'm a little bit nervous about some things, but we'll unravel that as we go.
Yeah, I'm not nervous either. I'll just be patiently watching to make sure it maintains some originality instead of
Mm-hmm.
maybe, to your point, being SEAL Team inside of a Yellowstone cocoon.
Right. And it's just like, are they, in the back of my mind, I'm like, are they going to do justice to this as a Yellowstone spinoff, or are they just gonna gut it and make it a completely different thing? I don't know that I want that to happen. So I'm just a little bit skeptical, a little bit cautious starting off. So we only had one episode to go off of. So that's kind of how I felt going into it. I'm like, okay, this is a little bit different. I'm a little bit out of my comfort zone with this. Like, this is not the Taylor Sheridan shows we normally know of, but let's let's check it out. So that was kind of where I was at. Um, as far as what your one thing would be to watch for, what is that?
Uh, Kind of maybe stemming off that a little bit, there's this technical element in the operation of the
Mm,
Marshals team, which also goes back to Kayce's military background. I don't
mhm.
remember from Yellowstone whether he was specifically a SEAL
Yes,
or he was a ranger or something like that. I thought he was a SEAL.
he's an
Um,
ex-SEAL. It says in the summary on
yeah.
IMDb. Yeah, I looked that
So
up.
so this very much kind of fits into this past that Casey was always trying to bury down
Hmm.
in Yellowstone and forget and move past. So now he's kind of back in his element a little bit. So
Hmm.
that'll feel very natural for his character. So it kind of gives this maybe SEAL team meets espionage, spy, dangerous three-letter agency type of series because this and to my previous point about being encased in a linear model versus a streaming model, we've seen the Yellowstone spinoffs like 1883 and
Hmm.
1923 have a definitive end date by design for
Hmm.
obvious reasons. And this is continuing the Yellowstone story. So there's no real end to this past what the end of, however long Sheridan and the writers want to take it anyway.
Mm.
So you could have this revolving door of antagonists. You can have a new story every season. To me, this new kind of feel to it. It's where it's still Yellowstone, but then
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a different flavor of Yellowstone. It kind of piques my interest to
Mm.
working in elements of tried and true different themes of cinema and television, like espionage and this sort of thing.
Okay, so what you're saying basically is that rather than scare you away, the fact that it's a different flavor of Yellowstone kind of reeled you in.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because I also feel like if we think about what Dutton Ranch is going to be with Beth and Rip, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be drama because
Yeah.
you can't just have this happily ever after story. Nobody's probably going to want to watch it. But at the same time, that will probably be very similar type of drama as far as the land grab stuff. Maybe they have
Mm.
to deal with rich people or I don't want to say tourists, but people like the
Yeah.
typical Californians coming into Colorado,
Mm.
that sort of thing. You know, they might have to deal with a little bit more of that, the land takeover type of things, and this one will be a little bit more of the militant type of friction, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, that could be that the fact that they're juggling so many spin-offs that they do have to make them different and cater to a different kind of viewer. To your point, it's a lot of the land grab stuff, probably a little bit of the cowboying and ranching. But then
Mhm.
we have that Jimmy spin-off or the 666 ranch coming at some point. We've got the Madison, which is a spinoff. I'm not sure to which degree. So the fact that we have so many spinoffs, I guess they do have to take them in different directions while still preserving a little bit to keep Yellowstone fans wanting to see what what each spinoff is. So maybe that's the role that Marshals is going to play within this group of spinoffs is like, okay, this is going to be like the action one, the tactical one out of all the bunch.
And it's a good experimentation phase because they'll kind of test the audience as far as do they just want the same story told over and over and over again and eventually the audience gets tired of it. Like, okay, how many stories can we tell about ranch drama with the Duttons versus things being a little different here and there, or this Madison's, they don't seem like they're not the core Dutton crew,
Mm.
so we don't know where that's necessarily going to go. So it'll be interesting that like maybe this was a test case to see how much creative freedom they have to expand. I don't want to say the Dutton legacy, but like the scope of the Duttons. Like how much leeway do we have to kind of keep it the same, but maybe a little different?
Right. Almost, I was thinking because it's CBS, the only thing I had to compare it to was um Tracker, which I kind of dumped after a while, to be honest. It just like it started off great and then it just got to be too much of the same. And I think there was actually a decent amount of episodes. Like there might have been 20 episodes or something in a season. And I was like, this is way too much. Like it seemed like it was just kind of repetitive and it didn't grab me anymore. And it was becoming a chore to watch it. So, I'm thinking of Tracker just in the fact that, okay, this season is supposed to be 13 episodes. So if they want to say, okay, we're going to pluck one of the best, like most beloved, I would say Kayce Dutton is one of the most beloved
Oh yeah.
characters from Yellowstone. Everybody loves him. Nobody's annoyed by him. Nobody hates him. Women think he's hot. Like no one's, mad at Kayce Dutton. So it's like we're gonna pluck that character from a beloved franchise and we're gonna plop him down in a new environment and see if he thrives in that environment and see what happens.
Yeah, that's funny. Funny point about Tracker is like because we can't get enough of Randall Pearson, but Kevin Pearson has a limit.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's nothing against Justin Hartley. It really isn't, but I started off loving that show and it just kind of tapered off for me because I wasn't invested in the storylines. It just seemed like nothing is changing over 20 episodes or so, So I started watching the second season and then I kind of dumped it quietly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were, I think, considering covering that maybe. So I was kind of glad that we didn't, because that probably would have been one of those ones where I would have bitten myself in the ass because I'd be like, oh, yeah, I'd give it a chance. Then I'd be like, oh, yeah, I stopped watching it.
That's funny.
I wasn't into it anymore. One of those.
One of those.
Um, I guess that kind of leads into my one thing that we were talking about. So like you, I'm curious to see where they take it. I'm curious about the unknown, like what life is going to be like with this or a couple Taylor Sheridan characters, but not with Taylor Sheridan writing. Like, is the grass greener on the other side, basically? This is something that hasn't really been done thus far. We've watched so many different Taylor Sheridan shows and it's all been kind of the same formula. This is on a different streamer. Like I know CBS is a part of Paramount, but like they seem like very different uh entities to me, just in the way that their scripted shows work. So and I we've talked about this before. I personally don't have the problem, but a lot of people say that Taylor Sheridan can't write women for shit. So I want to see how this guy, Spencer Hudna, is going to write the female characters because we have a new,
Cool.
right, we have two new female characters, and these are virtual unknowns, but one of them I did recognize, an actress named Ariel Kebble. She plays a character named Belle. She's from John Tucker Must Die from 2006. So I don't expect you to know which one
No.
that is, but yeah, I was excited to see a familiar face. I was like, that's the girl from John Tucker Must Die. Cool.
I
Um,
no, I did not see it. I was working at the theater when it came out. I may or may not have built the print, but I can't say I'm missing out on not seeing it because I'm pretty sure one print got moved out by the end of the week and the other one was down to two show times the following week and then it was gone.
oh wow.
So I don't
That's
think that one
brutal.
lasted very long.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the best of movies. It's just more nostalgic for me, I guess, because I did see it at the movie theater. But I don't know. All that to say, we have a few new characters that are women. So I'm kind of thinking, or I feel like hopeful that we'll maybe get a show that's similar to like the vibe, the content, the premise of Lioness, but without the things that make me roll my eyes about Lioness. At least that's what I'm hoping. So yeah, I'm just very hopeful that this is a different formula. This is not what we're used to. So maybe it'll, different doesn't always mean bad. So I'm thinking that maybe something different will be like a breath of fresh air. I'm using so many cliches talking about this.
Yeah,
But
sounds like it.
but no, I mean,
Funny.
I generally I like Luke Grimes. I don't find him annoying. I think he's a good one. I spoke about Lioness, where I famously dislike the lead actor, who is Zoe Saldana. So the fact that Luke Grimes is the lead to carry this show and he's very likable, I'm all for it.
Yeah, well, the only thing I'm concerned with as in regards to the female characters, and it's I think there's potential with both of them because they both seem to
Mm.
be a bit different as far as
Yeah.
their dynamics within the Marshals team.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm hoping that they don't try to become a wedge in Casey's post-Monica life because
Mm.
their relationship very famously in Yellowstone when they were kind of having their little bit of a riff and they're coming back together, like they were told by the elders that, your marriage is not just of this earth, that, you were
Mm.
married in ceremony, you are connected beyond a mortal limitation. I'm not quoting that verbatim, but in the gist of that. So I would be pretty upset if they tried to use these two new characters as a way to give Casey a new flame.
And I don't know. I'd have to watch it again to confirm, but I kind of felt like watching that trailer, I don't know, a month or two ago, whenever that was, that it was released, that that's kind of what it seemed like they were setting this up for. But I don't know if they're just making it seem like that to reel people in. But I do remember there being some like long glances and some of Kayce like, getting close to like one of the women and it kind of being like, oh, well, I'm still grieving or I'm not ready for that, or just like that kind of vibe that they were giving out in the trailer. So I hope it was just kind of edited to look that way, to be salacious, to make people watch. Like, oh, look at the fact that we're showing a sheet being pulled over a dead body, and like we're implying that Monica is dead and that Casey's going to move on with somebody else.
Yeah, that scene that wasn't even used in the pilot. Monica's
Right.
killed off months or potential years before the show starts. So
Right.
who's under the sheet?
Right. So that's what I'm in the fact that they didn't use that in the pilot, I'm kind of thinking, I'm like, okay, so is this all for show, or is like this about some other dead body and they're just making it look this way that it applied to Monica? Like, or is this like a flashback that we get to when she did die in a later episode?
Yeah,
I don't know what that is going to look like, but did they just make it look a certain way in the trailer to trick us?
possibly. I mean, I can't imagine they went through the effort of shooting a scene just for the trailer instead of
Right. And
something they
like,
cut out from an episode.
if they could trick us with something like that, they could very well trick us with the fact that it looks like Casey's getting, catching feelings for some chick. Like, and I did look it up because I wasn't sure of what the timing was after Yellowstone, and I believe the showrunner said, thought he said 12 to 18 months after the end of Yellowstone is when this picks up. So,
That's the
but But I mean, we don't know if she died 12 months ago. We don't know if she died 6 months ago. We don't know if she died 3 months ago. We have no idea.
Yeah, I mean they do say in the premiere what her cause of death was. So
Mm,
if that's the case, that was a pretty fast acting situation. I don't want to say it for to avoid
yeah.
spoiler, but that's pretty fast
Yeah.
acting.
I agree with that. I was a little bit, I won't say put off, but I was a little bit surprised with that and it wasn't even like an explanation, but I mean, like I said, I guess we'll find out as this develops and more comes out about how she died and what things were like when she died and how that was on Tate, how that was on Kayce, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and on Tate, I mean that's certainly to your point about you know these Sheridan characters without Sheridan as the primary writer.
Mm,
I would hope that after 5 seasons of a long running show, a very successful show, and we do have a small handful of returning Yellowstone favorites. We have Tate, of
mm.
course, we have Rainwater, and we have Mo. I would hope that 5 years of portraying those characters that may kind of supersede a different writing lead, and these actors like they're pretty like no, those characters are pretty ingrained in how they want to portray them.
Right. It's like we want to believe after all this time that those characters, like they mean something to us. So we want to make sure that they mean something to this new show.
Yeah.
Which I guess brings me to my next question. Should people watch season one of Marshals?
Well, and this is funny because I mean, I guess it's a little bit of a different take from where how you started this off. Because Casey and Monica were my favorites from Yellowstone
Oh.
together, and I always loved the Rainwater arc, even though albeit as he evolved from a bit more of an
Mm,
antagonist, I'm loyal to the Yellowstone brand, so there's no reason for
mm,
me to walk away from this.
right.
I also didn't have a problem with the SEAL Team show.
Mm,
It was just too much to catch up on for our timelines. But I generally enjoyed David Boreanaz in that. So even if this is kind of a hybrid of sorts between
mm.
Yellowstone and SEAL Team, I would encourage that. I'd be all for that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I feel like you sort of had different, I guess we're saying it in different ways, but we sort of have the same gut feeling towards this. I'm
Hmm.
in with a little bit of a, I spoke about a worry, that I kind of have about this show in the back of my mind. So I was really happy to see the familiar characters, Tate, Mo, Rainwater, even though Tate is just getting older by the day. And I'm just like, oh, I remember when this kid was like 6 years old,
Yeah.
honestly. But what was kind of alarming or shocking to me was the fact that I was looking up the characters, like I was looking up how to spell Mo, which is so stupid because it's like, who cares? Um,
All brings
but
plenty.
IMDb, and I wanted to see how long the season was as well. So it showed that it's a 13 episode season. And then it showed under Tate, Mo, and Rainwater, it said like 3 to 4 episodes that they're in. So I'm kind of like, ooh, it's not like they're in 10 episodes, not like they're in 12 episodes of the 13. So that did make me a little bit nervous that it's really going to veer away from the familiarity to us and just go full steam into, like it was a tactic for a tactical show. It was a
But I'm
tactic of theirs to show us the people we love, Mo, Rainwater, in the first episode to so that we to dig their claws into us, and that they're just gonna like go away from that in the rest of the season. And again, I don't mind if they go into a fully tactical show. If Kayce says to Tate, all right, see you later, I gotta go on a Marshals mission or whatever it is, like I don't mind if it's good and if it's engaging and if it keeps me interested, but it does make me worry. Like I can't not say that I'm not worried about that. Can't say, I don't know if I said that right, but I can't
I,
not be worried about that. And I wonder if that's going to keep myself and anyone else who loves the Yellowstone characters, like is it going to be enough if it becomes a fully tactical show? Is it going to be enough of Kayce Dutton and just Kayce Dutton for us to still be invested? I'm not really sure on that, but so I'll watch it, but I'm still just like kind of nervous the whole time that they're gonna botch this basically.
I think that it could very much be used as a story tactic, like if they were bits and pieces, like Kayce and the team go off on an extraction or something
Mm,
that's not in Montana, because at a certain point, how much are the Marshals going to do in Montana, you know? Or even if it's like, it doesn't have to be around halfway around the globe. It could be out to the West Coast. It could be something up in Canada. Well, obviously it would be in Canada, it'd be outside the jurisdiction, I suppose. Um, but that like they could be traveling around the country and such, and maybe there's even an international op. Who knows? But it could be something like that where we see the three mains, the other mains, and then a few episodes go by, we don't see him, and then Casey's back home, and it's a little bit more of an
yeah.
interpersonal episode.
Hmm.
And then a few more episodes come by, and maybe they're back for the finale or something.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking, but also like I'm not sure exactly what Tate's age is. Is he like more like 16? Is he 18? Like can he be, I don't want to say can he be by himself? Like it sounds ridiculous, but it like what does that look like? Does Kayce say peace out, Tate, I'll see you in 2 weeks? Or like
Well,
how does that work to just leave this kid by himself like after his mom died however many months ago or years ago?
I mean, he seemed to be pretty okay with Tate going to protest the occurrence of the causes of Monica's death. And on
Mm,
top of that, he's also been raising Tate to be able to care for this ranch that they kept as part of the land when he signed it over to Rainwater's, the reservation. So to me, that would be a little more believable if he did leave Tate, because he's been raising Tate to kind of grow up a little fast and kind of be a man a little bit fast. And maybe that's Kayce being aware of his own humanity, because as we know, like Mo said, violence has a way of finding the Duttons, and Kayce
yeah,
in particular. So it could be a bit of a fatherly instinct to make sure his son can continue their legacy, um, because Kayce seems to have drama around every corner.
true. And they did tie in the uh he parrots what my dad said to me. So they refer to John Dutton and the Tate's future potential relationship with the land. And then there's a scene with is it a wolf? I don't know
Or a
exactly what it
coyote,
is.
or a
I don't know
coyote.
exactly what it is, but some sort of animal. So we do get that like natural tie in to the land and the animals and that stuff in on cue you're petting your cat. Your cat
Yeah.
just heard me say animals and came into the frame.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's also part of living with the land. I mean, this is Western culture. This is Western culture. This is Montana lifestyle. So, I mean, living in part with nature and wildlife, and the Montana mountainside is part and parcel to kind of the appeal of the Duttons and Yellowstone.
Right. And it's just I wonder if, they are gonna keep it within Montana or like you said, I can't imagine that every crime or everything takes place in Montana. So they probably have to take it out of there at some point. So yeah, I mean, is the main setting of the show beautiful Montana, or is it kind of not really as in the forefront as it was in Yellowstone?
Yeah. Head down to Texas for one, head out to California for one, bounce around a little bit, because the Marshals are a national organization. Are they restricted to Montana or not, or calling to national attention?
Hmm. Well, we hope you don't bounce around when it comes to us. So if you enjoy listening to our show, we would appreciate if you gave us a 5-star review. Let us know what you think of each episode. Also, be sure to hit that follow or subscribe button so you know when new episodes release. Next up, Rooster on HBO Max with Steve Carell. He's our guy. We love Steve Carell. And they do him dirty in every show he's in, so we're kind of hoping that's not going to be the case with this one.
Yeah.
And this is a Bill Lawrence created show. It's about a father-daughter bond. So in signature Bill Lawrence fashion, I'm kind of thinking this might be a comedy with a dose of heart, like Shrinking. So it says it's a series, though, not a limited series. So I'm thinking that if it is good, it has the potential to stick around and be a full-blown show with a few seasons. So I guess we'll let you know whether that one is worth watching. I mean, are you pumped for Steve Carell?
Where are the turtles? Sorry, had to. But yes, I am. I mean, Prison Mike, all about it, and in Bill Lawrence we trust. In Bill Lawrence we trust, as always.
Oh, no more in Randall Pearson we trust?
Well, there's going to be a couple.
Okay.
This could be the Red and Red Mount Rushmore. You know, we have the Aging Gracefully Hall of Fame. We can also have the In We Trust. You know, a little E Pluribus Unum action with actors, writers, directors that we trust.
Do you think there's room for In Taylor Sheridan We Trust or no?
I think so. I mean, it may be a little more of a sketchy question for you and Lioness, but I think he's up. I think he can be up there.
True. Well, we do have the Madison coming up, so I guess we'll see if that's a case of In Taylor Sheridan We Trust.
Yeah.
Well, until the next real review, Red and Red signing out.